Welcome to the Stay Hungry podcast. Today, we are joined by Pradelli. Welcome.
Well, thank you very much, Matt. Great to see you, and thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I brought you on here because you are the co-founder and CEO of Nature City, which actually both you and your wife started it over 20 years ago. You guys sell premium supplements. But you have a very cool story because at first you did the whole investment banking route for 12 years and you pivoted to your own company. So you know both sides of the corporate world and having your own venture too for this. So I get a very cool journey here. But to start things off, take me back. Where did all this start for you personally in your life here?
I think you explained it correctly. Coming out of college, I went to the investment banking private equity world. Was terrific. Would not have changed a thing. Learned a lot, experienced a lot. Got to work with a lot of executives and CEOs and CFOs. Great exposure for a young person. But Matt, if you know anything about, first of all, if you know anything about that business, it is a tough business in terms of the hours you work, the lifestyle. It's almost like you're on, especially when you're at the junior ranks, you're almost on call 24/7. It's a tough business, so you really got to like it. And I did like it. But what happens in that business is you're well compensated, but most of your compensation comes in the form of a year-end bonus. Okay?
Right.
And what would happen is a lot of employees would wait for their bonus and maybe go leave for another opportunity or something like that, right? Which would really leave the firms hanging. So you change the way this compensation is structured, okay? So instead of you getting it all at once, it would vest over a period of years. They say, all right, Matt, here's your bonus, but you get a third now, a third a year from now, a third 2 years from now, et cetera, right? So every year you got this accumulating, value that you haven't realized yet. Well, it's out there, and they call it the golden handcuffs, right? If you heard that phrase before, but
Right, yeah.
if you leave it a lot on the table. Well, one way it all vests is if your company is acquired as a part of a change of control, everything you have vests and is paid out. So that happened to us around 2000 or so, 2001. It was actually 2000. I was at a decision point. I kind of really was liking the idea of being more of an owner than kind of an agent.
Mm-hmm.
Again, nothing wrong with that, just my preference, meaning I kind of like the idea of being, the founder or the owner of the company or one running it more than an agent just performing a service and moving on to the next client, right? So I really had a decision to make. Do I start this clock all over again and, start the golden handcuffs all over again? Or, I'm now in my mid-30s. So do I do that, or do I take my shot and start my own business? And decided to take the shot. So now how do we get to supplements? Well, my wife and I were just frustrated supplement consumers ourselves. Okay. It's,
Fair enough. Fair enough.
You probably know, right? I mean, when you
Exactly,
walk into
yeah.
these stores, it's just a wall of pills and bottles and stuff like that. You're like, what am I supposed to buy? Even if I know what I want, there's 10 different options. No one here can really help me or answer questions I have.
Right.
Even worse, back in the day, one of the chain stores I used to buy from, they used to allow brands to spiff their employees to push their products, their brands. So you can imagine the conflict that creates, right? Who are they looking out for? Me and my goals and health, or their own pocket, right? So that was a challenge. So, we just kind of sat down and said, there's a better way to do this. And how would we like to see a supplement company run its business? And how would we do it ourselves? And that really just led us to kind of write down, as we said, on our kitchen table, kind of some of the core principles on how we would do things differently and just be able to serve what we felt was just going to be, and we were right about this, just an enormously growing category for for many, many years. I think that's come true and still valid
Right.
today, right?
You chose a
So,
very tough niche though, for sure, because the pills out there are very like, competitive for it. There's lots of like scams too for this industry, so it's a lot of force on you there.
yes, I mean, everything you said times 10. It's, one kind of misnomer about the industry is, people say it's not regulated. Well, it is very much regulated. Okay. The way what we can put in our products and how they're made is very much regulated by the FDA. What we could say about them is also regulated. The one difference where people sometimes get confused about the unregulated part is there's no pre-market approval required. Okay. So as long as you're making a product with acceptable ingredients that have, been deemed okay to have in a supplement, and you're using, a manufacturer with FDA compliant good manufacturing practices, well, you can be in business tomorrow, right? So,
Interesting.
yeah,
So I'm new to all of this. So you weren't reselling pills. You're making like your own like ingredients for these pills, correct?
yeah. So what we don't actually make the physical ingredients; we source those. But that's what
Gotcha.
we do
Okay.
is we dictate what goes in the product, what goes in the formula. Okay, so we're not buying off the shelf products, which maybe is a stock item in some manufacturer. We actually they're all custom to our specifications using
Is that
the
tough to know like what like works, right? The right like have like this in there, that in there, like the right peel, like composition and all that?
well, that's it, right? How do you know? So look,
Right.
that's why we committed to using what we call the branded, scientifically studied ingredients. Okay, let me
Uh-huh.
break that down because it's not an
Yeah,
obvious
yeah.
phrase what it means, right?
Exactly.
Branded in the sense that the supplier has created is not selling a generic material. It's a specific grade, maybe a specific extract that it chose to brand to distinguish it from other generic materials. So create this brand. So that's part one. And then they also invested in clinical research trials, placebo controlled studies that are published in peer reviewed journals to provide not only indication of efficacy and what the ingredient can do, but also to validate safety that safe to ingest without effects we don't want, right? So that's really what we go by. As a starting point is our products only feature these, branded, scientifically studied ingredients. And, we let the science kind of drive the product, right? So,
Right.
if we've passed on many, many fads, if you will, or ingredients that became, hot on social media or, wherever, and just were there was nothing to them, right? They were just,
Right.
some celebrity saying, "Oh my god, this changed my life around," whatever, next thing you know,
But
people are
it's just
selling
some
them.
trend though, from what it sounds like. I'm
Yeah.
curious for you,
Mhm.
what should someone take if they wanna, like, fall asleep, like, in your point of view?
Yeah. Well, that's a good question. It's one of my favorite products now. A little backstory, for about almost 20 years,
Uh-huh.
consumers were begging us to come out with a sleep product,
Mhm.
okay? But we have this motto in Nature City, it says, "If we won't take it, we don't make it,"
Mhm.
okay? And my wife and I, over the years, tested, several different formulas, and we just felt like they weren't doing much, or we wake up feeling groggy in the morning, right? That's an issue with melatonin, right? About 25-30% of the population wakes up with what they call morning grogginess or fog or whatever,
Mhm.
because the melatonin doesn't clear your system in time as you wake up. Um, so we really, again, the science wasn't there for us, and our own personal experience with them wasn't there. Sleep science has evolved. So we now have a product we call True Z's, which really does three things that I really think are built for the modern world.
Mhm.
One, we say sleep is not just a bedtime problem. Okay. It's kind of something you got to prepare your body the whole day to get to sleep. Okay. And
Right.
part of the challenge of living today's world is our brains are so overstimulated, right? I mean, all day we're on phones, on computers, texts, emails, whatever, you name it, right? And that often happens right to the moment we decide to go to sleep and to bed. So you need something to help your brain relax naturally. Okay. And want to or wind down, get ready for bed. We prefer this amino acid called L-theanine. L-theanine. Let me say it one more time because I know I stumble on it. L-theanine. It's
Mhm.
basically a compound found in green tea that helps calm your brain without making you drowsy. Okay, so you can use it day or night actually, but it really helps you unwind. That's the first thing you need to do. The second challenge is the impact of stress on our lives and our body, even if we don't feel it. We're all stressed. And we prefer an extract, an ashwagandha extract that not only has been studied for sleep, but actually stays in the system like almost 24 hours. So it
Mhm.
provides round the clock stress support, and particularly as a hormone you may have heard of called cortisol. So
Yeah.
cortisol is something people paint it almost as a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. However, it needs to spike in the morning to help you awake, and then needs to level off as you go to sleep, so you can actually not only fall asleep but stay asleep. Okay, there's this concept called restorative sleep, which
Mhm.
is like what happens in the deepest sleep stage of the cycle. And that's really where your body does the heavy duty recovery and gets ready for the next day. So you wake up refreshed. If your cortisol is still elevated, it's going to be really hard for you to get that deep restorative sleep, even if you're sleeping 7, 8 hours at night. So that's the second thing you need to do. Okay. You need to, you know, you need the stress support, helping you keep cortisol in a normal range given the time of day. Last thing we say is helping to keep your circadian rhythm in line. Okay. That's essentially what manages our sleep wake cycle. And one of the ways we do that, a lot of people we don't like melatonin, which is a synthetic hormone essentially, because again, like cortisol has its like daily cycle up and down. Your body only produces a small melatonin in the evening. And by the time you wake up, melatonin's almost barely detectable in your body, in your
Really?
bloodstream,
Huh.
right? So what happens is people take all this melatonin at night, and next day they wake up and they're like, "Why am I feeling so tired?" It's like, well, that melatonin is still in your system. So what we do to help promote, healthy circadian rhythm and sleep cycle is we use a saffron extract, spice saffron, which actually been shown to help the body produce melatonin. Okay, so it helps if you need more melatonin, it's going to help your body produce it, right? So it does that by one of the ways your body makes melatonin, it converts tryptophan, amino acid, which, famously in turkey and so on and so on. So
Uh-huh.
really in everything that has protein. But anyway, it helps your body convert tryptophan into melatonin. So we say, you know what? We want the body to naturally deal with this process. We're not going to force feed it all the synthetic melatonin. It knows what to do. Let's just make sure it has the tools and support to do it.
Interesting. So your
Yeah.
brand is very niche because most brands I know of, they like knock you out. That's like their main goal. Whereas yours has like 3 steps to make it more like a natural process. It sounds kind of tough to me though, because you have to then train your consumer how to take your product at the right steps, right order. How do y'all do that?
Yeah. Well, that's actually something I just did in a new creative piece is explaining what to expect.
Right.
Weeks one to 2, you should be able to fall asleep faster. Weeks 3 to 4, should hopefully be sleeping longer and start waking up more refreshed. And then, weeks 5, 6, and beyond that is really where that restorative sleep kicks in. And it helps if you're using some type of sleep tracker. I used to
Right.
wear
Right.
Oura Ring. I now use my Fitbit watch or Google Watch, I guess it's called now,
Mhm.
to track my sleep, both the cycles as well as the amount of time. And, I think you just gotta set expectations a little bit, else people will, say, "All right, I took it last night, nothing happened. I didn't feel like and it's like, "No, no, that's not how this works. It's not a knockout product." Okay? Because again, just it's not about quantity of sleep only, it's about quality too. So that's kind of, how we're approaching it. So, look, it's not gonna be for everybody. It's gonna be for people who are patient and give it, time to work. And that's, by the way, one of the features of Nature Say it's different from a lot of other companies, Matt, is, we offer this 365-day money back guarantee,
Really?
which, you don't see that too much, especially in supplement
Oh,
companies. I mean,
definitely not. Definitely not.
right. So look, take your time, let the product work. We don't want you to miss out on the benefits here. If not, we're here. We'll take your money back. I will
I'm
give you your money back.
curious for the marketing. How do you guys do that? Because obviously you have your own segment, like the market, because you can't target everybody. Because your target is like very patient, probably older people who have time to see what happens. How do y'all reach like the right people in like your company?
Yeah, that's a great question. So most of our company, most of our clients fall into the age 50 plus category.
Uh huh.
Right. Now, those also happen to be some of the most prodigious users of supplements, right? So, a lot of times, I mean, that's actually started to change a little bit from, people, adults your age and, even perhaps younger are starting to actually take their health a little more
Yeah,
proactive. A
exactly.
little more proactive. I'm going to say seriously. That's not the right word, but be a
More
little more
proactive,
proactive,
not
right?
seriously quite yet, but we're trying. So,
Yeah, you're thinking about it at least, right?
yeah, exactly.
So, look, and you bring up such a good. So you got to really find the people who, I hate using this word serious, but I can't think of a better word right now. The people who really are looking for a product that, like you said, is made, is it really was really thought out and made in a way to get results for
Hmm.
the long haul. Long haul. Okay, if you're looking for something that's, if you're expecting something to happen in 1, 2, 3 days, well, supplements don't really work that way for the most part. Couple of exceptions. Um, and if someone's just looking for miracles, that's not really a good customer for us, right?
Hmm.
We like educated customers who understand what these nutrients do and why why you're taking them. And, not only to give it time, they say, all right, what else should I be taking? Right. And that's where your customer lifetime value really starts to explode, right? When people start using multiple of your products. And,
Do you have tips for that for like the whole like lifetime value of like keeping at the same customer for like the whole like lifetime cycle?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand the
So
question.
sorry, for like the lifetime customer cycle, do you have tips for that for being able to like keep them on like your team here?
Yeah, I do. One, I'd encouraged, a guarantee like ours really, here's what that guarantee does. Okay. It encourages people to buy multiple bottles at the start. Okay. And, or, keep using it for an extended period of time. So what happens, two things happen when it happens. One, the product's more likely the more likely to see a benefit. Two, it also becomes part of their daily routine, right? Becomes a little bit of a habit, right?
Right, right.
You brush your teeth, you do whatever, and you take your supplement, right? And so you have to really encourage. It's hard. It's sometimes a challenge to convert someone who just only wants to buy one bottle. "Yeah, I just want to check it out, whatever. It's a lot more of a challenge to convert them into a longtime customer than someone who buys maybe 3, 6, or even 2 bottles, right? And that's why we try to really our pricing strategy is designed to offer quantity discounts and everything and the long guarantee, and anything we can to set the expectation level for why, look, 1 bottle is not gonna do anything for you, most likely. Um just kind of you have to really with your products, you really have to just kinda also set the expectations. So, there's always there's the old motto, under promise, over deliver. And it's kinda really that. I mean, if if you overhype your product and, just trying to get that initial sale at any cost, or you offer some ridiculous discount or it's free trial, whatever, you're not gonna get those people who are gonna drive your customer lifetime value as customers in general.
Right.
Okay. You're just not. You want to get someone who's, more serious about what they're doing. They have better intentions. They have a better idea, what to do, and it's a better match for you. So, a lot of it's how you approach your marketing and who you target. Right. I mean, to me, it's not anyone at any cost. It's not like, if you have like a customer acquisition cost or
Hmm.
cost per, people like, well, $30 cost is better than like a $60 cost, right? Maybe. I don't know who's in the 30 group, who's in the 60 group, right? Because that people in the 60 group may end up spending like $400 or $500 over the next few years. A lot of those 30 people will never hear from again, right? So it's just
Right.
there's a lot of nuances to this. I know it's like it's a relatively easy concept. Oh yeah, let's figure out how much we could pay today for someone who's going to deliver this much in revenue and profits for us over a period of time. But there's so many different nuances within that.
And then
So
by pay, do you mean like Facebook or email, or what do you guys use for like your platform to reach people?
yeah, yeah, a little bit of all the above. I mean, our
Uh-huh.
products essentially right now you can buy our products either through our website, like calling us. A lot of customers still call us, or on Amazon. And then you'll see, I'd say organic search is probably one of our best acquisition categories.
Really?
But we do, Google paid ads, works pretty well for us. We're on Facebook, Instagram too. That's been one of our toughest channels, I think. And I think
Well, it's a certain segment, and your segment maybe isn't on Facebook as often compared to like Google for searching about the new appeal, right? So I imagine that's probably part of it there too.
yeah, I think they're like we said, they're better intentioned if they're doing
Right.
a search for something than someone who's just searching the news of the day, looking for funny memes or whatever, and they come across an ad that somewhat seems
Right, it's like different for what they want. One thought I had for you too is that most small companies, I think they last maybe for like 5 or 7 years, right? You guys have lasted over 20 years now. Why do you think that is for you guys?
well. The first thing I'd say is you got to stay hungry, Matt. You got to stay.
Yeah, stay hungry, right? That is the theme of this
Uh,
podcast here.
no, but that's look, that's a big part of it. Okay, you got to have a passion for what you're doing, because there's a lot of bad days. Okay, and even though we've had this one company for 24 years, it's almost like I've started 4 or 5 companies along the way because we've had to reinvent ourselves so many times, so much as the market evolves, as technology evolves, as business evolves, right? And you know, I mean, the only constant is change, right? Right, something like
Right,
that.
right.
And you have to be willing to change. And by the way, sometimes you fail or you take a step back when you make those changes, but over time it becomes the right decision, else you would have died a slow death anyway. So look, I can't understand. I mean, it's a little trite. People say, "Oh, you got to do something you love," but you got to have a passion for this because that gets you through the tough days and tough times. And if you're just doing something for money and make a living, hey, nothing wrong with that. That's great. But it comes a lot harder because, you know, even though I come to the office, it's work, it's kind of a hobby too. I actually enjoy what I do. I saw a new study came out, one of our ingredients today, like all excited about it. It's like, wow, this is great. This is cool. I'm jazzed, and it's not, it's not, it's work, but it's also kind of fun and a
Right.
hobby at the same time.
You guys
So
love this, what I'm hearing from you. But to your point, you have lots of change because you were prior to Facebook even being like a thing. And so you've gone through a lot of tech changes, people culture changes for pills and all that. Has much like changed for you like the last like 20 years for you like, personally for this whole like company?
yeah, but we really started out as a catalog company, acquiring customers like through direct mail catalogs and so on and so
Oh,
forth.
wow.
So, yeah, and it worked really well.
Probably like back then though, right? Not like nowadays for the whole catalog
No,
business, I imagine.
it's yeah, exactly. I mean, what happened is, well, first of all, you just have the cost of delivering the mail
Right,
to
shipping
home.
costs and all that, and
You got the
yeah, yeah.
postage cost, you got the printing cost, you got everything else associated with making it happen. And I guess people probably on average spend a lot less time reading their mail than they used to, just because there's so many other distractions and devices. And, we're walking around with supercomputers in our hands these
Yeah.
days, right? And it's just the mail is not as exciting to see what's in the mail today. Some people don't check their mail for 2 weeks, right? I mean,
Mhm.
and so we had to, it was one of the transitions we got to go. We said, all right, we have to actually stop, even though this is what we do, what we know, what we love. and it's done, we've done very well doing this, we have to actually stop because it would have led to, as I said, like a slow death, and we had to evolve, and we did. It was painful. And it was like almost starting a brand new business. Because as you, as I know, online and digital marketing is much different from print marketing, right?
Oh,
I mean,
very different.
yeah. So you have that. And then even within digital marketing, I mean, come on, it changes every 6 months, it feels like, right? And now obviously with AI and everything else, we're about to have unbelievable changes that we can't even probably get our arms around
Oh,
correctly.
for sure.
Yeah. But
So you mentioned, yeah. So you mentioned we. So first it was just you and like your wife, correct? Have you guys like grown from that point to have like more staff at your guys' company?
yeah, so what we did initially, our business philosophy was, we want to control a big part of what we tried to deliver, Matt, was not only great product at a good value, but a great customer service experience. We really wanted service to be a unique business, unique selling proposition, if you will. Okay.
Right.
Because it's one of the biggest complaints, right? You can't get a person on the phone. You can't get anyone from the US on the phone. You can't get my question answered, help, And so, we wanted to control initially as many touch points with the customer as we could. Okay. So we built our own captive, call center within the company. And, not talking about hundreds of people. We had staffs of like 5, 6, 7 people, whatever we needed.
Still though, wow.
Yeah. Um, and then we also built our own 3PL, essentially, our own fulfillment center. Because again, we wanted to control how that package gets out, what it looks like. Maybe a little obsessive, but
Wait, so you built your own call center and your own like warehouse basically for all this.
yeah, we
Do you have
built
tips
it
for
out.
able to like fund all that? Because initially you guys had probably like no sales to be able to fund all of this, right?
Well, you really took the savings from my
Oh, got you. Okay,
previous
yeah.
career.
So you were like
It was
all
it was
in here.
self-funded, Yeah,
Got you. So you were all in.
we had some family and friends help us,
Still though,
making some money
okay.
too to invest in it, but no, it was largely reinvested my savings, to give this a go, and, I probably could have just invested in the stock market, would have done a lot better. But no, look, I would not change a thing. I
So
love
you
what
were
I do.
pretty confident then it sounds like it was gonna like work out for you from this point.
Yeah, I really, Matt, felt good about our plan. I just felt like, look, I really just felt if you do the right thing and treat people the right way and sell a good product at a fair price, in a market that's growing, you should be able to figure out over some time, right? And wasn't sure how long it would take. I mean, I didn't take a salary from the company for like, I think, oh geez, like 6, 7 years.
Well, your wife sounds cool then, because she was probably on board with this whole thing too then, right?
My wife's an angel, no question about it. And look, yes, she had to be on board. She was a partner in life
Right.
and partner in the business. And, it was risky, it was risky, and at the time our kids were, we had 2 sons, are relatively young, and, was not the easiest thing for either of us. But, as I think I mentioned, I may have mentioned, it's just kind of a nice way to make a living by helping people.
Right.
And, just the stories we get and the feedback you get from customers of how we changed their lives, in some cases is just kind of cool. I didn't experience that in my previous career.
Well, it's probably a very different feeling post-career, right? So
Yeah, I always kind of say, I don't know, I have this weird imagery. Like I probably pass, some of our customers in the airport just, walking by each other without knowing that, and it's like, wow, these anonymous strangers you're helping with their health and their lives.
for
And
sleeping, for their health, all those things. Yeah.
yeah, it's just,
Yeah.
it's a nice way to make a living. So that was the other thing too. That also drove the passion too. Is like, I don't know, I just felt like it was what we were put here to do at this point, and we just wanted to stick to our principles.
Right.
There was a lot of fast money making schemes. I guess we could have chosen to pursue that other companies have, and we just didn't feel right about that. And you know, yeah, a lot of those people made a lot of money. But again, we weren't in this for some short term hit. We wanted to build long term value, and that's
Which makes sense.
yeah.
I'm curious, do you have tips for family companies? Because you probably wear like your husband hat and then like your boss hat because you have like the same household, right? So you have that stress always for you guys 24/7.
Yeah, it tests the relationship. I gotta tell you, relationships are really, really hard. Especially, I mean, the ultimate relationship is being married, of course, but it's it tests the relationship because if you and your wife work or spouse work in separate places,
Uh-huh.
um, you come home, you maybe each tell each other about the day, and then you kind of move on to family life or whatever happens, right, in the household. When you're like Well, it's your business and, essentially another child, another baby. It's like you never
Yeah.
escape that. You're kind of there. It's kind of there 24/7. I mean, look, there's a lot of great things about being an owner of your business, but I feel like I'm never truly on vacation.
Right,
Okay.
because you are
You,
the boss, so you always have to be
you,
on call
you,
here.
you have to. It's hard to
Yeah.
completely turn off or, you know, obviously you like to have team members around you who can handle things. And for the most part, they can, but sometimes they need help, right? And it's just there's always things that come up. So it's you have to another reason why you really have to be passionate and be hungry about what you're
Mm.
doing because it definitely has an effect on your personal life. You get control of your schedule a little bit more, and no one's telling you when to show up to work and when to come home, when to leave, what days to work, what how much vacation to take, etc. But, you know, if you're not there, the buck stops with you, right? So, I
Yeah.
mean, you have to that's a challenge. So it's it requires a strong relationship with your spouse or family member you're in business with. And you have to really go into it saying, all right, how are we going to separate personal from business to some degree, right? We have to
Right.
have some type of boundaries and walls. We need a plan to do that. Because if you don't, it just consumes you, it really does. And look, raising a family is its own set of stresses. I mean, it's the greatest thing in the world having, raising kids and all, but it comes with a lot of stresses and
I
challenges
imagine.
itself.
Yeah.
So you layer onto that starting a new business, you just gotta be prepared for what exactly you're doing. Sometimes it's exciting, it sounds great. You just gotta make sure you have a good plan, say, all right, how are we gonna deal with conflicts? How are we gonna separate, work from personal when we need some boundaries here. And
Exactly, because it can probably sound amazing, but, like, the plans be a little bit different from what you had hoped for, so very different.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you have been fantastic, so much value here. I'm curious for, like, your last thoughts or tips, what that would be to the audience.
Last tips, if you are interested in supplements, that's one of the big things I do on a Nature City podcast. Um, try to educate and even if you're not buying from Nature City, how to find good supplements is a big part of what I do. One of my pet peeves is fraudulent supplement products that are,
Mm,
so rampant now and people basically getting scammed, as you say, I try to just do a little education how to try to at least put the odds on your side a little bit more and not buy a bad product. So if you're interested in that, you can check out either our website, naturec.com, where we have a lot of good information, or, just, check out the podcast. Every episode may not be for you. We talk a lot about ingredients, but, some of the bigger picture stuff and how to shop for supplements, I think people find really valuable. So do that. And look, like I said, you know, do something you love. There's no greater feeling than actually saying, "Hey, I helped build this." Um, but you know, you just gotta make sure you're really doing it for the right reasons because you
right.
love it, not just because you think you can make a quick buck. That'd be my
Which makes sense. Well, guys, go find them. Thank you all for being here and tuning in. And until next time, stay hungry.